we going live?
It says we are.
It says we are.
Yeah.
Is it lying to us? I don't know.
Did you didn't make any weird faces?
I know, because I felt called out. I make enough weird faces just while talking. I think it's fine. I think there will be plenty of opportunities. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Kayla Lords.
John Brownstone.
I'm loving BDSM, but if you're here early for the live stream, I'm pretty sure you knew that. But if you came later, that's who we are. That's what we call ourselves. Yeah. We are in natural lighting. So we don't know what is going to happen outside the window. So if lighting changes, that's why we're using actual natural lighting, because we bought this entire house for this one room.
Yeah.
And so we might as well fucking use it.
And the windows.
And the windows. So we've got 4 minutes before we are officially here for the butt rub portion. If you come later, feel free to fast forward if you're not into butt rubs, because, you know, your kink's not my kink, but your kink's okay. Yes, we have new shirts. It says, I kink and I know things. I don't know what's going on with our color and our white balance, so I don't know if it's coming across as the deep ass purple it is, but it is. Another one of Ignixia's designs. Link is in the description box, because of course it is. And let's say hello to folks. What are you clicking on? I can't say hello to folks if you click away, man.
Say hello.
Thank you. Okay, let me go, because y'all were here early.
Yeah.
Hi, Taishu. Hi, Amy. Hi, V. Hi, The Velvet Sky. Hi, Eva. Hi, Silent Winged. Hi, SSG. Goodness, there's so many of you. Hi, Amberelle.
Hello,
Hi, Jan.
everyone.
Hello. Okay. And I'm sure more people will slip in and hello to them too. And if you're a lurker, I am here for the lurkers. I'm a lurker. I see you. I know you. I love you. Hello to you too. The Velvet Sky. We probably won't do a house tour, but once the office is done, we will film an office tour.
Yeah.
I've been taking video clips of the process, so I can show.
And what a process.
Right, from empty room before we did anything through the steps. Okay, and Amy, yes, I too need more coffee. Actually, I just want to go on record, this cup right here, first cup of the day. I've had caffeine. I had an unsweet iced tea.
Third.
I haven't had a Diet Coke yet.
I'm so sorry.
I know, isn't it sad? I think I'm holding out the Diet Coke for dinner.
Okay. All right.
So...
oh gosh.
Hi, Jason. Yeah, Taishu, I can understand that. I absolutely, if I get focused on something, I'll forget all other things. This not being one of them, because somebody will remind me. Hey, are we doing it? Are we not doing it? What's happening? This is weird to see us in natural lighting. Oh, and because we got questions Friday and Saturday when we were streaming, I know we're going to get questions. This will not always be a boring background. We are going to be doing stuff with it, but it is a work in progress.
Right.
So there you go.
We're trying to get all the important aspects working first, and then everything in its place, and a place for everything.
So yes, it's boring back there. Yes, it's not a great color. We know. We're working on it. Hi, Victoria. So, oh, wow. I don't know that I have... I know you've had McDonald's iced coffee before.
Yeah.
I think it was when they were doing it for like $1.50 or something.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had it. I think it's because I can't get heavy cream, and I don't like almond milk in my coffee. You cannot give me enough almond milk for me to like the taste of it. I like almond milk. I don't have a problem with almond milk. I just... When you like give me the even extra almond milk like you would extra cream, it's not enough. It's just not enough.
Hello, FD Turtle. Welcome.
Hello. So, any other... Oh, look, see, I got my lurkers out.
Yeah.
They're saying hi. Yeah. And
I think SSG went back to lurking, too.
That's okay. That's okay. I don't want to screw up your name. I know is it Bogonch? Can I get a pronunciation? Because I stress out about names. Hello, by the way. Yeah. No, that's all I got. It's 12:30. We might as well get started anyway.
Right.
Ooh, Eva says for anybody out there who needs it, if you got a coupon, you can get a McDonald's iced coffee for 99 cents. I'm here for it. I might not like it, but I think everybody should get a deal. That's what I'm saying. Hi, X.
Hey, X.
Okay, we are getting into it. It's officially 12:30. The stream has begun. So YouTube only. You saw the title when you clicked.
Yep.
We have absolutely talked about limits and boundaries before, many times.
Oh yeah.
We're just giving it its own episode now. And actually, this is a follow-up episode. We have talked about this before. I'll probably mention that again when we bring the podcast audio in. It's fine. When your limits and boundaries change, because of course they do. If you like what you see here, we love a thumbs up on a video. We really love it if you subscribe. That's always fun.
And hit the notification bell so you always get notified when we upload new content.
Sure. Do what Daddy says.
Just listen to Daddy.
Just do what Daddy says. Yes. And if you really like the work that we do and you have the means to and the ability to and want to, and you want to support the work we do, you can join us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/KaylaLords. Link is, of course, in the description box. Okay. So now you're going to have to do your magic to bring the other people in. And then I know you're going to click around for 100 years, right?
Of course.
Right. Because that's what you did the last time.
Okay. Are we ready?
Sure. I'm trying to be quiet.
Girl.
Okay. So we are talking about changing limits and boundaries today. But before we do that, of course I have announcements, because of course I do, because that's what I do. First of all, if you listened to last week's show, we mentioned some links where you can get more information on the Black Lives Matter movement and to donate if you are in a financial position to do that. Those links are still in the description box on YouTube or in the show notes page. If you could not get to them last week, you're like, crap, I got to wait till I get paid. Haha, don't worry. We got you. A lot of the conversation online has quieted down, but the issues are not, they're not done. We're not going to forget it. We're not going to pretend like it does not exist. Right. So we will keep those links going. We will periodically try to remind folks that their information is out there if you want to know more. So just as a reminder from last week. Next, we have a sponsor.
Yes, we do.
Elegantly Owned on Etsy. All one word, Elegantly Owned. Link in show notes, link in description box. If you go to Etsy, search Elegantly Owned, all one word. I happen to be wearing one of the products. If you're in the live stream today, what is time even? If you are in the live stream chat, say hi to Taishu, because Taishu owns this business. And
it's a bit timey-wimey.
I am wearing, and did I forget the piece of paper again to talk about what this thing is made of? Of course I did, but it is beautiful. So Elegantly Owned is a shop where you can buy collars and bracelets and anklets and locks, and it's gorgeous. And you can place custom orders for the color that you want, for the size that you want. If you see one thing on a listing and you're like, ooh, but I like that, but I'd like it in another color, then you reach out and you request that and you go from there. You can also save some money if you would like to shop. Use the code LOVINGBDSM15, all one word, on your order now until August 1st, and you will save 15%. And the one I am wearing today is the Catwalk Weave Day Collar. It's violet. The beads are check glass. This one was custom length made for me because I don't like anything too close to my neck. It's 21 inch. For podcast listeners, we will take a picture, put it on Instagram so that you can see it. But yeah,
beautiful. I'm
testing this out to see how I feel about it, because we will be talking about this later in a review. But the stuff on Taishu's Etsy page is freaking gorgeous. So, Elegantly Owned, all one word. If you're on Etsy and searching, or use the appropriate links, coupon code's LOVINGBDSM15 to save 15%. There you go. Woo! Okay. So, and a big thanks to Elegantly Owned for sponsoring us this week. We love it. So we have absolutely talked about boundaries and limits. We did an entire episode 62, way the hell back in the archive, almost 200 episodes ago.
Yeah.
So a long time ago. We will link to that in the show notes page for podcast listeners. That one is a podcast only for anybody who loves us on YouTube. We don't have the one as a YouTube video. This is not new information. To say that we have boundaries and limits is not new. If you happen to come across somebody who is trying to tell you that you don't get to have boundaries or limits because you're submissive, throw them in the trash. Just kick them into the sun. They need to go. Yeah. That's like one of the most dangerous things you can hear in a new kinky fuckery situation or DS relationship. Of course we have boundaries and limits. There are things we don't want to do. There are things we can't do. There are things that could hurt us. There are things we're just not into. We don't have to justify why something is a boundary or a limit. Yes.
Some things could be triggers. There's many different reasons for any of them.
Hopefully, none of this is new information for you. So what we're actually talking about in this episode, and we've mentioned it, I don't know, about 1 million times, but we've never just talked about it for an hour. And that is the fact that in some cases, for different reasons, your boundaries and limits can and do change. And when I say change, that is in either direction. Something that you previously enjoyed, no longer your thing. Something you once thought you hated, you're like, okay. And so, because that's, I think, part of the evolution of ourselves as individual kinksters, and also within any relationship we might be in, I thought we should talk about it.
Sounds good to me.
I know. So, here we are. So, let's start with this.
Okay.
Have you, to the best of your knowledge, are you aware of a boundary or limit that has changed in either direction?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that changes. It's fluid. All right. It's constantly fluid since the beginning of our relationship. Absolutely.
What is that boundary?
What is that boundary exactly? Well, I know for me, there was a time I would have never thought of picking up a whip.
Because you didn't like it, or because you just thought, I'm not that interested?
Well, a couple reasons. I thought, well, it's not truly that interested, but it was something that seemed too extreme to me. And now let's shuffle many years down the road, and I found, you can kind of play with a whip and not be harsh about it. You know, there's a certain element of finesse with it, and so yeah, for me, that's definitely one thing that has been changed.
And that makes sense because I'm still not a huge fan of being whipped because it hurts like fire. I mean, I do love the marks, but I'm not like, ooh, whip me. But
you don't like what it takes to get them.
Oh no, that was not the masochistic impact play kind of experience. That was the, will I endure this as your submissive? The answer was yes. Also, I got something out of it, so it worked. But I can understand that because there was a time I thought whips were just a little too extreme. Quite frankly, the moment I kind of went, maybe it's not so bad, was when we went to a couple of workshops.
Right.
And you had somebody with knowledge who could explain, okay, you hear that loud crack, that is noise, that's really for show. You know, here's how you can, and then I can't think of the name of the person who ran one of the workshops that we went to, but he showed how you can just like flick it and you can do it this real soft, gentle move. And I went, oh, like a flocker? That was and Dex. I had a different understanding of it.
That was Dex.
Right. So that is one of the examples of how a boundary or limit or a thing you thought you weren't that into changes over time, is because you learn about it and you talk to somebody or listen to somebody who's got experience in it, and they maybe negate some stereotype you thought, something some misconception you had about that activity, and you decide, maybe I'll give it a try. Now, clearly that thing was probably not a hard limit if all it took was a conversation and you went, I might give that a go at some point.
Right.
I do think that most truly hard limits very rarely shift or change by much. I know that it can happen. I've had conversations, but I don't think it's happening all the time. Like, I'm not into blood. I'm not going to be into blood. I might have a better understanding of it after some workshop, some demo, something. I'm still not that interested. Thanks. It's one of those like sort of ingrained, I have a visceral reaction, not because I don't understand how the kink works, but because of the thing itself. There's other types of play that also involve body fluids, and I'm just going to go, oh, it's not going to happen. I have gone through the same experience with things that I went, that's in my no list. I'm not interested. No, that's a boundary. Don't cross that boundary. And again, it was not something that was like a hard, like, actually, I would not have called bondage a hard limit, like a hard no. I just had no interest in it. I just was like, the rope is pretty, the pictures are pretty, but I just don't care. I just don't care. And I don't remember how we got to the point where you did a little bit of rope work on me. I honestly don't remember. We had to have had a conversation.
Yeah.
It had to have been one of those things where it was like, okay, for you, I'll do it.
And I think that's what it was. You actually brought it up to me.
Maybe that was the case. Okay, which does make sense.
And you were kind of like, I'm not really fond of this in your usual, manner. But, I'd be willing to. And you still do. I mean, it's not some, like, you're not like, oh, you want to do rope? You want to play with rope?
No, it's still not like that.
Oh, okay, all right.
Am I going to get a cute picture out of this?
Where do you want me? How do you want me to be?
Which, I'm sure just excites you when you're like, woo, look, I get to pull out the rope. With the mud puddle over there is like, whatever. Like, so I'm not, here's the difference. Because I don't have strong feelings, truly one way or the other, but I really don't care about bondage. It's not something I'm excited about, but also you have never coerced me into doing it. You've never talked me into it. You never pressured. So when we first did it, it was my idea. That makes sense. I don't really remember the conversation anymore, but it does make sense. And I think it was because I felt like I was the reason you were missing out on something, and it wasn't a hard limit. It wasn't a thing that I hated or that triggered anything or that made me, like, I just was like, I don't care. I don't want to do this. But the submissive side of me was like, but maybe, I guess, if it'll make him happy.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that it was because we had reached a point in our relationship that you felt safer with me, that you felt more trust?
No, because I never had that view of bondage. I was never like, somebody's going to like cut off all my circulation. I was just like, I don't care. Like, take the opposite of pure excitement. That was me. Like, but the submissive side of me absolutely kind of was like, he really likes this, and I'm not even helping him, and I don't. And then, me, I'm attracted to really pretty colors. Yeah. And you were buying some pretty color rope, and it was a little bit like a bee and a flower. Like, he's dangling the pretty colored rope, and I'm like, well, I might pollinate that. Can we talk about this? So, but it was never a thing, and this is why I think it's okay, and I think that it needed to happen this way. It was never a thing where you pressured me. You never even asked me. You knew how I felt. You left it alone. Yeah. You were not like hovering over me or guilting me. Like, all of those kinds of behaviors, wrongity, wrong. You could have asked me, have I reconsidered, would I reconsider? And I think that would be okay. I think that's an honest part of an open communication, dialogue in a relationship. But it was my idea. You let it be my idea. And then here's what happens. I have the experience.
That seed.
Yeah, and dangle the flower. Here's what happens. We have a really fun moment. And I get a little twitchy because I get impatient. My foot hurts. And are you done yet? But you made it an experience that touched on other things that I do like. So it was very intimate. It was very sensual.
Right.
You made sure it hit all the hot spots. Like, it was a sexy moment. And so I came away with it going, okay, I still am not going to jump up and down. Hey, let's go play with rope. But also I'm not going to shy away from it. I may even suggest it. Yeah. And after I opened that door to being willing to try something, then you walked through it and went, oh, okay. now that we've done this, how do you feel? There was a lot of, conversation after the fact. And we talked about that, and I was like, oh, I really liked that, and I kind of like that. And after that, though, then it was, hey, I would like to do this rope tie. Can we do that? Or, hey, Hitachi rope harness. Let's have a good time.
Bring the two together and see what we get.
Right, exactly. And the funny thing is that me of 2020 can look back and go, you didn't care about rope, but you love a lot of the things that you can do with rope. So I like being held down and tied down. I like forced orgasms because the vibrator's attached to me and it can't go anywhere. I like a lot of things that we do, but because I could not conceive of rope bondage, as the example we're using, as anything outside of a few knots and ties and stuff that I just was like, I could not possibly have known what other things could be done with that. Now, that does not mean that 2015 John Brownstone should have pressured me into bondage. Of course not. But what it does mean is that tells me now that when I think something is not a thing I want to do, not because I'm having a visceral hard, oh my gosh, that's terrifying reaction to it, but because I'm just like, I don't want to do that. I know enough now to go, wait, are there other things about this I don't know about? Maybe let me go educate myself a little bit before I make a final decision. Maybe let me leave the door open to trying this in the future under the right circumstances. And if I had not had that experience changing my mind a little bit about bondage and then having the experiences with it, I could not see other things that way now.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that comes to my mind in regards to you is gags.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And we talked about it, and I totally understood your reason behind not wanting to try a gag.
Yeah, well, and that's because you get anything too close to my neck, cover my face. Masks are hard for me. Y'all going out. I do it because I get claustrophobic and I get anxious, and it can set off a panic attack if I'm not careful.
So, you had even said at that time, if we could find a different way to do this, you would be willing to give it a try.
Right, because it was one of those things that was not a boundary because I hated the idea of it. It's because I understood myself well enough to know you cut off my breathing too much. Like, we had to stop playing with choking during sex, as much as we both enjoy that, because cut off my air too much. I will panic. This is no longer fun. I don't want to do this.
Right. So, that put me on a mission.
I love a John Brownstone on a mission.
That put me on a mission to do some digging. And I managed to find several different things that work quite well. A solid ball gag for her, just not an option.
I know, and I'm considering buying one just because it's beautiful.
Well, I know the one you're talking about.
It might never get used, but I feel like I have to own it because it's gorgeous.
It is, yeah. So, what I ended up finding was, I don't know how many remember the baseballs, the wiffle balls, about the size of a baseball, but it had the holes through it, so it was very light. And it was a ball gag like that. It had holes. So she had the feel of something in her mouth, but air could pass through.
Oh, yeah. If I took a deep inhale, I felt cold air, and my whole brain could just relax at that point.
And then the other one, which really tripped your trigger when we tried it.
In a good way. In a very
good way, yes. Was the bit gag.
I love me a bit gag.
Yeah.
Because, again, my mouth is still open. I can feel the rush of air, but I definitely can't speak, and all I can do is make, just really garbled noises, and there's a lot of drool, and that is very sexy to me. That's very sexy to me. But again, that was I don't think I can do this because of this reason. Not because I hate it, not because I'm scared, not because of other things that, happen, but because I know myself, and we communicated those things. And I said, here's why, here's what will happen. And then because I wasn't saying no to it because I just hated the whole idea of it, then we could look for other options. So in that way, I'll never say a ball gag is a hard limit now. I'm just going to be very specific, the word I wanted. I don't know, words are hard today, y'all. I'm going to be very conscientious about the kind that we use because I know who I am and how I react to things, and we're going to play within that. That's a limit that's not going to change.
Right.
So we're going to play inside that limit. What's another one I'm thinking of? I can't think of any specific limits I've had that have changed in that way. There's other kinds of limits that change in other ways. And I'll bet if we ever could go back to an old yes, no, maybe checklist, I could probably find some things I said no to that I'm like, heck yeah. So boundaries and limits change for all kinds of reasons. Some of it, like we've mentioned, is when you learn more about a thing. You had a preconception in your head of what this thing is, and then you go, oh wait, actually no, it doesn't have to be like that. It can be like that, but it can also be like this. I am at a point now that if I hear of a kink and my mind immediately goes only to a stereotype that maybe I've seen in porn, or that I've, back in the day when you could see BDSM porn on Tumblr, I might have seen there, and that's all I can imagine. I know that I don't know enough about it to even make an informed decision. Then there are the boundaries that you go, oh God, get that away from me, right? Like blood and urine and other body fluids, right? And there are some, I don't even know if they'd be called kinks, but there are some kinks that involve body fluids that I like, it feels like everybody I know loves, and I'm over here going, oh, I can't do that. And it's that visceral reaction. There's a very good chance that visceral reaction probably will never change. And then there are the limits you have based on any number of things: bad relationships, bad tapes, your own issues that you're dealing with, your fears. I'm not saying everybody with a hard limit based on any of that all those limits always change all the time. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
But in my experience, what I have found is that in some cases, some of those boundaries and limits can soften because you are in a different relationship with a different person, and they earn your trust, and they go at your pace. And those, I think, are the boundaries that tend to change the most. And they're sometimes the most gradual, because it could be years before you're like, that thing I said I would never do 10 years ago? I might be willing to try it under these very certain specific circumstances. And I think that is another thing to understand about boundaries and limits changing. Sometimes it's very fast. One day you're like, nope. The next day you're like, yeah, I'll try that. And then sometimes it's literal years. Could we go back to choking? Choking is not a limit because I don't like it. Choking is a limit because it makes me have panic attacks, which actually makes me very sad because it was very hot when we could do it. Well, if I could get past or move through or find some way to not have that very visceral reaction and have a panic attack, could we gradually get back to that? Maybe. Because whatever it is that's causing me to panic, if there's something I can work through, and I don't know that there is, I'm not saying that there always is something you can work through. If you're having reactions like that, and that's why something becomes a limit, a hard limit or a boundary, I'm not saying you can always fix it, but if I thought I could fix it, hell yeah, I would happily gradually get back to some version of that, because that was actually something we loved. So that's another example that sometimes you have a thing you love that you have to stop doing.
But see, what's
going on.
And sometimes that changes the opposite way, and there's various reasons for that. But now one of the things we found to replace the choking is face slapping.
Yes, which that hits. No pun intended. That hits lots of kinks for me.
That hits the spot, right?
It does.
Yeah.
And I would say that's another thing. If you have to take something off the table because there's some limitation, physical, mental, emotional, you just can't do it anymore. I think that is a good way to look at it. What can you replace it with that gives you something similar? Maybe it's a similar sensation. Maybe it's a similar feeling. Choking was scary in a really cool way, and it was a absolute lack of control. I did not even control my airway anymore. Now, you were always very careful with it. You never got real extreme.
No.
Breath play is a form of edge play because, people have died from breath play, y'all. But face slapping gives me a shock in a different way. And it's not a one-for-one swap, but it definitely is a good it was a nice replacement. So, Hold on, let me check my notes. Okay. So, okay, we've talked about how they can change. We've talked about when they can change. We've talked about why they might change. So they're changing. What do you do about it? Well, let me go back to rule number 1 of all BDSM things. You're going to need to talk about it. If you're in a relationship, you absolutely need to be talking to your partner about that. And that may be going to them and having to say, you know that thing we've been doing? I'm not going to be able to do that thing anymore. And depending on the nature of your relationship, that's up to you if you go into detail as to why. We are a long-term couple that lives together and is now married. Of course I was going to tell them, we cannot do that anymore. I am panicking. I don't want another panic attack. I can't handle that. But if we were a one-off play partner, we were really casual and we didn't have that kind of bond, I'd have just been like, I'm not doing that anymore. And that would be valid. Yeah. So you get to have your own boundaries and limits and communicating that too. I do think that the depth of your relationship, the longevity of it, the nature of it may determine how much you share. And I do think that if you feel comfortable enough with a partner that they've earned that trust, that by sharing your why with them, one, they'll have a better understanding of who you are and how you think and how you feel. And two, the two of you together may find an alternative. You may find another thing to do that doesn't interfere with these boundaries or limits, but you have to talk about it. And I say that even when for the person who's like, but I'm going to disappoint my partner when I tell them I don't want to do this thing anymore. You're right. They're going to be disappointed, but they're grown ass adults and they're going to need to figure out how to get over it.
Right. Now, it's better to know and understand what is going on. Okay, would it be? It was disappointing to me when you couldn't kneel anymore.
Yeah, that was disappointing for both of us.
It was disappointing, but I also understood, the reasons why you couldn't.
Right.
There are physical reasons why you cannot. So, okay, we came up with a solution to something that you can do that takes its place and is just as much, if not more, fun at this point.
Right, exactly. Yeah. We found a way that was an improvement. Yeah. And funny enough, talking about crawling or kneeling, if you listen to the podcast, our latest mini episode was about that, was alternatives to that. Right.
But when you start, exploring new boundaries, one of the things that I think is really important is educating yourself. Because you don't want to get into something and not know what you're dealing with. One, that takes away from the potential fun you could be having with it. All right. And two, you could hurt someone.
Oh, sure.
All right. I'm not going to say it's a hard limit. And I saw somebody mention fire play in the chat. Now, I don't know as I would ever want to do fire play.
I'm not interested in fire play. I find it fascinating to watch.
I find it very fascinating to watch. Was at a club one night and they were doing several fireplace scenes, and it was fascinating.
It's gorgeous.
It was. There was a beauty to it. The way they handled themselves with everything. It really was something amazing to watch. But that's why even when we decided to try wax play, because our living situation had changed and we couldn't make a lot of noise anymore.
Right.
Didn't just run out to the store and buy candles. We sat down. I asked people questions. I researched. I looked at this, looked at that, and made sure knew what I was doing.
Right.
What we both were getting into before I just started pouring wax on somebody.
I appreciate that about you. And that is one thing to think about. You're talking to your partner like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Let's find an alternative. Okay, finding that alternative, if it's not something you're already familiar with, is no different than discovering any other new kink. You have to go through the education process. And you also have to try to see beyond the stereotype of it. So that's another thing, though, that I think that people can sometimes get confused about. I can find fire play fascinating to watch and beautiful, and know that I'm not interested in it, partly because I know myself, and that I can already feel my anxiety going, that's fire, things burn to the ground, and it's at that point it's not worth it to me because I don't have a driving curiosity for it. If you are super super curious about it, even though you might be a little scared of it, then go learn about it, and then you can make a more informed decision. The other thing that I was thinking about in terms of, now, of course, I'm thinking of the submissive perspective. Let me stop real quick and remind everybody that dominants get to have boundaries and limits too. And there are things that they don't always want to do too, okay? To my submissive and bottom friends, your dominant is not a receptacle for whatever kink thing you would really like to do. Like, they get to say, no, I don't want to do that. That's not my thing. So just remember that. And which means that your boundaries and limits will change too.
I mean, for me, right off the top of my head, I will tell you point blank, do not ever ask me to engage in needle play. Ain't happening.
I know. I struggle to get you to donate blood.
I know.
And you get cookies after that.
I know. Cookies and orange juice. I have my own visceral
Sure. I mean, that's the nature.
fear of needles. And for me to think of putting a needle into somebody, I couldn't even do it.
Right.
No.
So let's just stop there.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking of is from a submissive perspective. And I've used this word before of endure, that I have endured things that I don't love because it hit another part of my kinky self. And I want to sort of make this point very clear. So the reason as a submissive, if you are like, I don't want to do that anymore, this is not a thing I enjoy, I don't want it to be part of our play, I don't want it to be an option anymore. You do not have to endure things that you hate, and you should not endure things that you hate just because you're submissive. The longer you go without telling your partner, and they don't know, and they're basing, the choice of what to do on the fact that you have not said anything, means that you're not going to be happy. Resentment's going to build. Now, I would like to think that dominants and tops out there might notice that their submissive is no longer like really enthusiastic about it, and that maybe they would stop and like check in, ask a question, make it easier for you to say something. Perfect world scenario, yes, that's what would happen. It doesn't always work that way because people are people and sometimes they're oblivious. So it is our responsibility as a submissive to speak up on our own behalf to make it clear that we want to do something or we don't. But when I talk about enduring something like the whip, I endure it. That is a conscientious choice I'm making because it's hitting another one of my kinks. It's making me feel really submissive to let the whip come at me for as long as I can handle it, even though it's not something I might normally gravitate to. Or I'm seeing how far I can let my masochist side endure a pain I don't love, or it's a personal challenge, like, can I do this? But it is a conscientious decision I've made, that I've consented to, that nobody has coerced me into making. John Brownston's not guilting me into doing it because he really wants to, and he knows that my submissive side can override all kinds of judgment. No. I choose to test my endurance for things that maybe aren't things I love, to see what will happen, to have that like small mushy feeling of, oh, I'm so submissive, I'll do whatever my daddy wants. Like, that's what I'm going after, and I recognize that, and I'm aware of it, and I'm having those internal conversations with myself about what I'm doing. And so if you ever hear me talk about, I wanted to see if I can endure, it was more of an endurance thing. That's what I mean by that. If it's something I hate, he's gonna know I hate it. Like, I'm not gonna shy away and pretend to continue liking something, or that I started liking something and never say, like, I'm not gonna do it anymore, because the whole point of what we do here is that both sides of the slash need to be getting some level of fulfillment out of this, and some level of pleasure and enjoyment and happiness, and whatever you're looking for from your kink experience. We both deserve to get that. So that means that I'm not going to just suck it up and do shit I hate because I think that that's just what submission is, because it's not what submission is at all. We both have our desires and our wants and our needs and our boundaries and limits, even as those things change. Now, that does not mean coming to the person that you really care about and saying, that thing we've been doing for like 5 years that you really love, I can't do that anymore. That's not an easy conversation to have.
It's not.
But it is a necessary conversation to have.
Yeah.
And I think that part of that is it goes back to any communication skills you might have picked up along the way. You've got to be willing to listen to one another. You've got to be willing to give each other time and space to think these things through on their own, because you've just presented them with information. Well, they've got to go process that. And some people don't process quickly. Some people don't process in the middle of the conversation. They need time to think about it and figure out how they feel. Not that means that they shouldn't respect your wishes, but that they need to like go deal with themselves for a minute and think about it. And then checking in and working together to maybe find alternative solutions if that's an option. It should, depending on the level of communication you have with your partner and the ease of which you communicate, I don't think it should wait for some big, heavy moment where you're like, we do a quarterly check-in. Like, if you're hating something, if something has become a thing you don't want to do anymore, you should not be enduring it for the next 3 months till your quarterly meeting.
That's something that needs to be brought up.
That's part of the ongoing communication of being in some kind of power exchange relationship with each
other.
Well,
and that's what they mean, when they say, when they talk about consent being ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. It's not something that is set to a specific time frame. Okay. When you get into something like that, it's something that should be, open for discussion at any point.
Right, exactly. And it needs to be, because this is about how the two of you or more are interacting within your dynamic. And we talk a lot, when we talk about boundaries and limits, we talk a lot, whether they change or you have them or whatever, we talk about kinky acts. Can you think of any of the less kinky fuckery, more power exchange things, any limits you have? I'm trying to think if I have. I guess in some ways, yeah. So we do not,
yes,
we no longer use sir as your title, because that just
correct.
doesn't work. That's not right. That's not the right one. No.
I can think of one right off the top of my head as far as power exchange goes. And this is something that I don't believe in. This is a hard limit for me too that will not change. Degradation.
Oh, you mean like really serious degradation? Because we're into humiliation.
We're into humiliation.
Right.
But I mean, I know there are some people who are into the humiliation of being put down.
Like insults and stuff like that.
Insults and different things like that. That is something that goes against the core of my beliefs.
That works because I can't handle being talked
you,
badly too.
You can't. And that is something to me that is a boundary, a limit that I will not cross. I cannot cross.
I know, which is funny because there have been some times we've been in some like really hot, rough, kinky sex. And I'm like, I want you to be mean to me. And you are in your own way. But in my head, I was like, actually, I saw that going on. Maybe I should have been more specific. Right. But it's actually a good thing, because even if in the heat of the moment because we have talked about with a humiliation kink, there are certain words that you cannot use with me. Right. Because they are trigger words for me that, not good, danger. Yeah. But yeah, and I think that it's not just in the physical acts. I mean, we think about it in those terms, but like there are certain titles we don't use because they don't work for us. Right. And it doesn't feel right. It doesn't even fit. It's like, that's cool for other people, but that can stay over there. Yeah. We don't want to do that. There's certain forms of, we very much consider ourselves in the realm of daddy dom baby girl. But there are certain elements of that kind of dynamic we do not and will not, are not interested in engaging in. And that for us is a limit. It's not even on the table. We don't want to do that. That would be the other thing that I hope we said it in episode 62, but let's just say it again here. So we've got it on the record for 2020. Just because one person or one relationship is like, I'm totally not into that thing. It's a limit. I don't want to do it. And it's like your jam. It's like the thing that you live and breathe for. Somebody else not liking it does not negate the fact that it's right for you. Just like you loving that thing does not negate that it might be a hard limit for somebody else. I see so many conversations in the kink world where people get really offended that somebody else, first of all, people have this really bad habit I've noticed online of naming some kink thing that they don't like and basically going, oh, that's the grossest thing ever. And then, of course, the people who are like, it's not the grossest thing ever. I'm into it. You've just negated my whole experience. And it's like, that's why speaking in absolutes never is a good thing.
You know what? That's why, if you've noticed, even with the boys, a lot of times, I will get frustrated with them when we sit down to eat dinner. And first words out of their mouth is, oh, that's disgusting. That's horrible.
It's the worst thing ever.
Worst thing ever. No, you don't say that. It is not. Nothing about that is disgusting. You don't like it.
Right. Your personal opinion, your personal view on it, and that's valid. And I will respect the fact that you don't like that thing. You don't want that thing. That does not invalidate the fact that I do want that thing. And I think all of us as kinksters are truly aware of this because we already know there's an entire popular part of the world that looks on what we do just as kinksters and goes, ew, right? And it's kink shamey and it's unnecessary. I think that it's easy for that to happen online. Twitter just comes to mind because it's where I spend most of my time. And because you only get a couple hundred characters to make your point. And not everybody wants to thread their tweets. And I get that. And so there's no room for nuance. There's almost no room for somebody to go, this does not work for me. It's fine if it works for you. And that I think is another thing to remember as we go through. I have genuinely seen some people in one breath, internet breath, so from one day to the next, take that how you will, get very upset that somebody made them feel bad for the thing that they were into, and then in the next breath totally kink shame somebody who didn't like a thing that they were in. And I think we're all susceptible to those kinds of blind spots. And I try to be very conscientious when I tell you I am not into that thing. I want it to be clear that I am not. That thing's not bad. It's just not my thing. And so when you're talking to each other in a relationship, be mindful of that. Yeah, that's a thing that maybe you really liked, and now your partner's coming to you going, I don't want to do this anymore. Neither of you is bad or wrong for liking or not liking that thing. You're just at an impasse on doing it, and now that one's off the table. If one of you doesn't want to do it anymore, one of you has made it a hard limit, one of you is like, that's a boundary you don't get to cross anymore, it's off the table. You can choose together to find another path, to find an alternative, to find another way to play, but that thing is off the table. And we're not going to kink shame each other into trying to get it back on the table, because that's how you kill relationships. Why would I continue to move forward in a relationship with you if you kink shame me the moment I tell you I don't want to do a thing anymore, and then try to pressure me into it? Because if you're pressuring me into that, what else are you going to pressure me into? Where else can't I trust you? Where else won't you listen to me and hear me and respect how I feel about something? If you go through that, if you tell your partner this, whether you give reasons or not, maybe you've outlined all your reasons and they just don't want to hear you, that's an indication of something. And you need to be very, very aware of that, because if they will do that in this situation, where else have they done it, or will they do it in the future? I didn't mean to go on a rant, but there we go. I mean, you got to have at least one a day, or, do you know you're alive if you hadn't had
got to have that rant thrown in there. People wonder what's wrong if you don't go on a rant.
Now, sometimes we're very fortunate that we know something. There's a clear change. Maybe you go through a situation in your life and now you realize that there are certain forms of play you just can't do anymore. Maybe there's a physical condition or a chronic condition or an illness or something it's very clear. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's gradual. Sometimes it's stuff that you said no to years ago and you just hadn't thought about again. And so there was no way to talk about it again, or to bring it back up, or to even explore it because it just wasn't on your mind. If you want to check to see if some things have changed for you. And I would say truly, once you get into kink and you start down the path of a lot of learning and educating and finding resources and meeting people and talking to people, every so often, I don't have a time frame for this. You could do it every once a year, every 5 years. I don't care. Every so often, maybe go back to a yes, no, maybe checklist. Maybe take the BDSM test again. It's not great. It's not the best one, even though it's the most well-known one. It's bdsmtest.org. I haven't taken it in ages.
Yeah, BDSM test. Yeah.
But if you want to see, if it's been a long time since you even thought about what your limits are and your boundaries and what you're willing to try and what you don't want to try, it's just not a thing you're thinking of, you can go back and retake one of those, or even if you've never taken one before, take one now and see what's different for you. Because most of the time, I think we spend our time thinking about the things we're doing and the things that we wish we were doing. And then, of course, sometimes the things we wish we didn't have to do but are there and they just won't go away. We don't exactly spend a lot of time and energy thinking about things nobody else around us is talking about, that the people in our lives closest to us aren't, bringing up to us. So if you use something like a yes, no, maybe checklist, it reminds you that these things even exist at all. I know that if I went, I think we're going to do an experiment with some of this in the next few weeks.
We've kind of been talking about it a little bit, yeah.
To see how things have changed for us. I have no doubt that some things that were once a hard no might at least have moved into the maybe category, just because I know a little bit more about them, or I had a preconception about them, in 2013 when I didn't know shit, that I know a little bit more now and can make a more informed decision about this current day. And the same will be true. There'll be some things that I thought I was all into and have had a little bit of experience about and be like, no, that's definitely on the no list now. We're not doing that. I think that that's a good exercise to see how things have changed, especially if you're going through changes in a relationship where maybe some forms of play you used to engage in are now off the table. You're like, well, what else can we do? It's easy to get into that. This is what we do. This is all we do. This is all I know. There's nothing else on the planet to try, because you know what you know. Use a list like this. Use the quizzes. Use whatever's out there to remind yourself what your options are and see how you feel about them now, as opposed to however long it's been, since you figured out you were kinky and you started discovering this stuff. Especially if you've taken these kinds of lists and done these kinds of lists before. It's a really interesting tool to see if there are any changes. And if there are no changes, great, cool, no problem. But if there are, then you've got maybe new avenues to explore, new places to learn, new kink activities to try, new conversations to have with a partner. But I guess my whole point to that is don't be surprised if things change. We're constantly, even when we don't realize it, we're constantly growing and learning and taking in new information. And it's all like sitting in, I always say, file cabinets in my brain. It's all back there, even if I'm not consciously thinking of it. And I think we're going to do some kind of similar experiment to that to see if there are any changes for us over the past several years and what those changes might be, because that's fascinating to me. And I think that try not to be afraid of change. Even if that change means you're telling your partner, that thing we've been doing, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't like that anymore. It's not, it's on my list of no's now. And that just, hopefully that means you've opened yourself up to go try new things together and make new discoveries together.
I mean, it happens both ways. It goes both ways. It's a two-way street. Some things you may open up to, other things, all right, time to shut the door on that.
Right.
But it's all, and I say this a lot to people, this lifestyle, it's a journey. It's a growing experience for both sides of the slash.
And it needs to be. If you're not growing, what is happening? What are we doing?
And there's always more to learn.
We had, what was it, last week we had that conversation? Or at some point we had this conversation and I was very ranty about the, person who's been in the lifestyle for 30 years and wants to say they have no more to learn, they know it all. Like, I don't have fucking time for you. No. If I'm not still learning something after I've been doing this for 30 years, something's wrong, and you need to get me to a doctor because something's wrong. It's that simple. So I think it's a basic concept that I think most people recognize, even if you're not consciously aware. I think many of us can look back and go, yeah, I used to think I didn't like that, but actually, yeah, maybe. Hardest part is usually talking to a partner about it. So hopefully we've given you some things to think about, some things to talk about with your partner, some tips, tricks, methods to try in order to find new things, especially if you know that some things are just not a thing you're going to do anymore for all kinds of reasons. And also you got a Kayla rant, so our job here is done. Do you have anything else that is on your mind about this topic that you're like, I've got to say it or I will explode?
No.
Okay then. See, that if he had asked me that question in reverse, you know how to come up with something, right?
That's why I don't ask that question. Because I know what the answer would be.
So, that is it on this topic for this week. Yes, we have a bonus section.
Absolutely.
Because, of course, we do. Yeah, that's all that.
So, are we good?
As good as we'll ever be.
All right.
Okay.
Keep it kinky, y'all.
And we'll see you next week. Daddy.
Yes, baby girl.
Can I talk to the crickets?
Do you have anything to say to the crickets?
Am I breathing oxygen right now? Is the sky blue? Am I drinking coffee?
I don't know. It might be a little overcast out there.
Stop, Daddy. Please.
Go ahead, girl.
Thank you. So, our emoji of the week, I'm going to keep it simple. The purple heart. The purple heart. It's my favorite emoji. I try to always remember to sign things like with a KL.
That's close to your heart.
I always try to remember to sign things with a KL, but if you ever, who is talking to me on the interwebs from Loving BDSM, if there's a purple heart, it was me. I love you. I've never seen you use a heart emoji at all, but certainly not even the purple heart.
Well, I use it a lot.
When? Not with me. Where's my purple heart emoji?
I use it a lot.
But just not with me. Okay. So now we know John Bronso's out there impersonating me. So I see a question in the live stream chat that I will happily answer, and it is in our mini podcast episode for anybody who doesn't have a chance to listen to that. Tashu asks, what did we replace kneeling with? And it's actually bending over the bed.
Yes.
Like at a 90-degree angle?
Yep.
I'm on my feet and my whole torso is on the bed.
Feet are on the floor, and then she lays over the bed.
It's very comfortable.
Yeah, it's very comfortable for her, and it has been our replacement for kneeling for a very long time.
Yeah, it doesn't even feel right to go to bed without doing it. It's funny, there are some nights, it's really rare, but there are some nights that JB's in bed before me. And as long as he is awake when I come to bed, I will kneel over his legs on the bed to get the butt rub and the permission to go to bed because I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to sleep. We do it in hotels, we do it in guest bedrooms, we do it all kinds of times. And then every once in a while, somebody wants to be a sadistic bastard and tease me and go, oh, were you just going to get into bed without kneeling? I'm like, never, because I like to be able to sleep. And if you fuck up my routine, I'm never going to sleep. So, let's see what's going on with us. We are, anybody who joined us for the Friday night live stream, the hangout that we do on YouTube late on Friday night, would have seen this, but if you only are able to join for the Wednesday live stream, podcast listeners, if you ever get a chance, come join us on a live stream. We are technically mostly with our new setup. We have a table. We have 2 new chairs.
Yes.
It's not plugged in or turned in or hooked, but we have a specific streaming computer. That's its only job is to record. It doesn't do anything else.
That arrived Monday. And monitor should be here today.
That's what the text message said.
And I will then need to, I'm hoping to have it fully functional by Friday. For the hangout, but I will need to fire it up, create the user account on the machine, see how much updates it's going to need for Windows.
I know.
And then start getting software installed and all that, drivers and whatnot that we'll need. But Yeah, it'll be nice because then at that point I can have the soundboard right here in front of us. So
And we're constantly set up. We literally just sit down.
Yeah.
I think the only thing we will have to do is maybe put the camera up.
put the camera up and down.
And we're on track to maybe get a new camera.
Yes.
So, like, shit's happening.
Well, Eva, I don't know. I have no problem with my chair.
So, for podcast listeners in the live chat, Eva said, I'm feeling that the chairs are not going to last long. So, for podcast listeners, this will be a repeat for some folks, but I'm going to tell the story of these chairs. So, these chairs are just real basic little plastic office chairs.
Workstation chairs.
Workstation chairs, but the way they're made, they have holes up and down the back and the butt.
Like the wiffle balls.
Right, like the ball gag. And last Friday, we did the live stream. I was wearing like a real simple pullover dress because I didn't want anything pinching my waist. Mm-hmm. And I let my skirt get hiked up when I sat down, and I am what you might call a fleshy human being. And so the fleshiest bits of me, sank into these holes on this chair, and it was fine for like the first little bit, and we live streamed for 3 hours that night, and towards the last hour, I think it was, I was like, oh, this is starting to get uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. When we finally ended the live stream Friday night, I literally peeled myself out of this chair and realized that I should have just tucked my damn skirt down like my mama would have taught me to have done as a child, but I did not. That's why nobody ever let me wear dresses as a little girl. And we go into the bedroom, and I hike my skirt back up, and I say, "What does it look like?" And we called it Lego butt, and Lego because I had big, huge circle imprints all up and down my butt and the backs of my thighs.
Now, me being me, what I loved, there was one circle, probably about as big around as a 50-cent piece, and it was bright purple.
It had gotten pinched, like blood flow had gotten cut off the way I was sitting.
And it was just a perfect bruise. So,
do I still have that bruise? I've had it for a couple days.
It's fading.
Is it fading?
So it's finally starting to fade.
I can't. It's so far back I cannot see it.
But me being me, at night when she leaned over the bed, instead of swatting her.
Oh God, he just poked it.
Poked that spot.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It looks like it's massive. It was really big. It looks like a massive blood blister. There was a little part of me that was like, please don't poke it too hard. But I mean, all of me was sitting real heavy in this chair. Yeah. Now, for this amount of time sitting here to record the episode, I'm fine. We did put a blanket over it. I am wearing pants that cover my ass. Thank you very much. We will not allow my very mushy self to just like fall through this chair. We are using my Hello Kitty blanket, which is actually my aftercare blankie, but I will find something that's like purple and fun, of course, because eventually the decor of our office will be purples and grays because that's what we do. But yeah, so that's the chair. And I would not want to sit in this chair with or without something to cover the holes for more than about 3 hours. I think that's probably my limit on these chairs. But they're not too bad. And they're swish back and forth. So I can kind of scoot around, which makes me very happy. Yeah. I'm a very fidgety. I have to have the office chair that turns or that rolls or that goes back and forth. Like I just have to be. I don't know why. I just have to be moving. Yeah. What else? You put up my pegboard on the wall.
I did a lot of things
shelves
here
up for
in
me.
The office the last few days. Excuse me, folks. I put up shelves by Kayla's desk so she can kind of get some stuff off of her desk. Over where the shipping area is going to be, got pegboard up and mounted to the wall. The bookcase, because the bookcase that we got for this room is so tall and the floor is carpeted, I wanted to have it mounted to the wall so that way there was no chance of it tipping over or falling. So got that taken care of, and then I spent a very good portion of the afternoon unpacking the boxes left here in the office.
We're down to just like one, I think?
Down to one cardboard box, and that's mostly my stuff that I really need to go through and just kind of, see what really needs to be tossed and
yeah.
So it's kind of that. I don't remember, we probably talked about it Friday, but the garage is cleaned out.
It is. It looks like a garage.
The garage is cleaned out. All the things we'd put aside to donate to Habitat for Humanity.
Minus one box.
Minus one. Well, okay.
I love you, Daddy.
Keep it up, girl. I'm gonna make you carry that box to the Center for Donation.
I think we've established I could probably use a workout or two.
Well, there is that, and that'd be one way to get you started, wouldn't it? So yeah, everything from the garage has been taken. Believe it or not, all the moving boxes and cardboard that has been piling up, I have broken it down. The last of it went out to trash yesterday, and that is now gone. So, yeah.
It's a bunch of little stuff now. It's a bunch of teeny tiny little stuff.
We are pretty much, there's just a couple boxes left in the bedroom.
Yeah. I don't know what to do with those.
Little odds and ends bedroom stuff. One of them is your lamp.
Yeah, I think that's going to come in here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the last box now left in the living room are pictures.
Yeah, that's probably going to be a whole weekend project just to get stuff up on the walls.
It's going to be the pictures, but now that we have everything in place where it's going to live, now we can really start playing around with getting pictures up on the wall.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. In the live stream chat, Jennifer asked why I would get an office chair that I can't sit in for long periods of time. This is just the recording office chair. My office chair for my desk where I sit for like 10 hours a day, quite comfy.
Yeah.
That was one of those situations we went through the Office Depot or wherever we were, Staples or wherever, and sat in every single chair until I found the one. My butt was like Goldilocks, and I finally sat in one and my butt went, yeah, this is just right. And that one, I probably am in 10 hours a day.
Yeah,
easily. So no, this is just the recording chair.
Yeah.
Which
I find humorous because chair doesn't bother me at all.
You, my darling Daddy Dom, have a butt that actually, one, can be completely contained within the chair. Two, you actually, you're just not as fleshy as I am. Three, you don't wear a skirt that you can hike up and then put your bare butt on. There's all kind, you are a fundamentally smaller person than I am. And the way you experience things like furniture is way different. Way different.
I may just have to sit in here pantless one day and try it and see what.
I'm down with that. I'm pretty sure if we let everybody know, whether they were a podcast listener or a YouTube watcher, know that you had no drawers on and you were sitting here recording. I mean, some people might go, your kink's not my kink, but your kink is okay. But other people, I think, would be here for it. They'd be like, what? He's naked from the waist down? We're here for it. I think you would have a different opinion of the little holes, though, is all I'm saying.
I just might. I mean, yeah.
I'm thinking you'd have a different opinion. Yeah, these chairs that we picked are small enough that it just fit with everything. But yeah, no. It's only for recording. What else? I don't know. There's this... just same old. Is your bike ever going to get fixed?
I don't know. I reached out to him the other day, and I never heard back from him. I got a feeling I'm going to have to...
Right, because, see, the problem is it's something he fixed that maybe he either did not fix quite correctly or he missed, and he probably doesn't want to have to go back through and deal with somebody's error.
Yeah.
Because there's a problem with this newly fixed bike that we spent how much on to get it fixed? So I'm just saying, he needs to fix it.
Yeah. And yes, Eve, I've given that a thought that I might do that for Friday.
Wait, you have to tell podcast listeners. I don't even know. Oh, that you can wear your kilt.
Wear my kilt for the Friday.
See, and then hike up your skirt and see. But you know, you got to wear skimpy panties underneath because your boxers cover everything. That was my panties only like covered like a little bit. Like that's how all that ass cheek got stuck in all those holes. That's how you get Lego butt. Yeah. So I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
All right.
So, I think that's it. It's, we're just same old, doing our thing.
Trucking along,
making plans for stuff. Yeah. I have a whiteboard now where all kinds of notes get written. Upcoming video ideas, stuff like that. But yeah, we're making the weird ass goal a reality. So
yeah, it is. It's coming together. And for those of you, we took our doggo to the vet Monday.
Oh yes, for anybody, even podcast listeners, he's never like really been on camera much, but the hacking you used to hear in the background, that was our dog. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't hear anymore, not because he's not with us, but because he's in another room. He's in another room.
He's in another room now, but when we moved, he kind of started to get a little off with his eating. Mm-hmm. And at first we put it down to the stress of the move, and things like that. And over time, it did not get better. I mean, it's been several weeks. I would have expected that, the appetite would have been coming back.
He actually got worse.
And he actually got worse. Come Friday, he stopped eating.
He was only eating if I hand fed him.
If you hand fed him and then, just a little bit.
Yeah, and then barely.
So, the weekend, it was kind of funky. We had some really bad weather here. A lot of rain. And we decided come first thing Monday morning, get a hold of the vet and see what needed to be done. So she called, and we were able to get him there.
Yeah, they were
right away and drop him off.
Right, because they didn't have a slot.
They didn't have an actual slot, but she said, bring him, drop him off, and we'll get him in. And actually, they were able to get him in a lot quicker because she called fairly quick.
Yeah, he'd been gone like an hour, and they were already calling me with questions and updates and stuff.
Yep. And what it kind of turned out, he had lost
a whole pound. He's a 10-pound dog, y'all.
Yeah,
that's a lot of weight to lose.
He's a little thing, so 1 pound was a lot of weight for him to lose. And he was dehydrated. Even though he was drinking, he was not drinking as much as he normally did either.
Yeah.
So the vet ended up, she did some x-rays.
Because you have to understand, he has a heart murmur. He's had it since we've had him. He's probably had it his whole life.
We knew that
when
he had a heart murmur when we adopted him.
And last year, they did x-rays for his senior well check. They wanted to check his heart because he's got the murmur. It was enlarged. They decided to do more x-rays to see how much worse it had gotten.
Right.
And apparently it's on a scale of 6. Anybody who works with animals will understand this better than I do. And last year he'd been a 4 out of 6 for his heart murmur and an enlarged heart, and now he is a 5 out of 6. Mm-hmm. And she was like, we can do ultrasounds and we can do this, and I'm like, he is 14 and a mostly happy dog. Help us get him back to eating and to being a happy little doggo.
Yeah.
I'm not putting my baby through the stress, nor am I spending thousands for them to tell me he has a heart murmur and an enlarged heart.
Right.
We know.
Mm-hmm.
So
through all that, what they did at the vet, they gave him an appetite stimulant.
Yeah.
He is now on heart meds.
Yep.
Which
twice a day,
which at this point he will be on pretty much
for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm. And temporarily cough medicine. The vet feels that with the heart meds, he will be able to be weaned off the cough.
The cough is it's a tracheal cough. His enlarged heart is pressing on his trachea. causing him to cough. And anybody who remembers old episodes where we were constantly apologizing for our coughing dog in the background, that's what that was. And we had him on a cough medicine, but it had not worked. And so we were forcing pills down him because he hates to take fucking pills. Oh my God. We finally found the treat he loves to hide the pills in, and so we're getting them in him now. But the cough medicine at the time, there was no difference. It does seem to be working now. Maybe it's because he's taking a heart medicine.
I think it's a combination of the heart medicine with the cough medicine.
So we are also fattening him back up because he's getting treats with every pill he has to take, because it's the only way he'll take a pill.
His heart med is... He takes 2 a day.
But they're so big, and we have to hide them.
Big, and so we have to cut them in half. So we cut them in half and
mush them into individual treats.
Into the treats and give them to him. The cough medicine is every 4 hours.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's only half a pill. So we have to cut that pill in half, hide it in a treat.
Yeah.
And we learned if the treat is too big, so we bought pill pockets, and we bought a pill pocket that was the size of the heart medicine. That is too big for him to eat easily. He's a little dog. So he was eating it breaking into pieces to eat, and he was finding the pill. And
he would actually pull the pill out and drop it off to the side and then finish eating it.
So we had to get creative with the pill pocket and make the pill pocket smaller, make the pill smaller, put the pill into the pill pocket, squish it up until it's like this little nuggety size that it still takes him a second. He can't just gulp down. He still has to chew it.
But he can pretty much... In one bite, he can,
So we're basically treating the dog the way you would a toddler and hiding all the good stuff for him in whatever he's eating. And he's in freaking heaven. He loves these cheese-flavored pill pocket treat things. And he's getting multiples a day. And so he's just constantly coming up to you like, hi, I'm here. Is it time?
Yeah, right?
Are you going to give me a treat now? I'm like, no, you got a couple hours.
Yeah, so. And Eva said, at least it's pills. Liquid is impossible.
We had to do that.
We had to do that too. She
2 days?
gave us 2 days of appetite stimulant. That was in a syringe, and that was a 2-person.
I know, and he's only a little guy. I cannot imagine a larger dog.
But he's scrappy.
Yeah, and he hates being held. So I would hold him, and all the legs would come out. And y'all, he's a miniature pincher and Chihuahua mix. So he's nothing but leg. The legs all go out in different directions, and then I'm holding, and we got it. We made it work.
So she had to hold him, and then I took and grabbed, popped his mouth open, and shot the...
So glad we had to do that just for 2 days.
Yeah.
I don't think... That is not something I'd want to do.
No, every morning. No. So he seems to be doing rather well at this point.
Yeah, he's more himself.
He's more alert. His eyes
are clear and bright.
He still rests a lot. But he's an old man.
An old man with a heart problem. Taking naps too.
But he's definitely eating better. He's eating his morning meals and his evening.
I know, and I don't have to hand feed him. I mean, I was literally sitting on the kitchen floor and scooping out and putting a bite in my hand and handing. It was the only way. When we were thinking, well, maybe he can't reach the food bowl anymore. Well, no, that was not the issue. No. Or maybe he just, I don't know. He was just not feeling it. And so, knock on wood, he seems to be doing better.
I mean, the vet told us kind of what we already knew. The heart medicine is not going to fix his heart problem.
He has congestive heart failure. Yes. That is his diagnosis, which we know.
Yeah.
So... But I told her, I said, look, I'm all for figuring out what's wrong with him. I am not stressing this dog out more than we have to. I'm not putting him through invasive procedures to tell me what we already know. Right. He is going to live out however much longer we have with him in a happy, spoiled environment. That's just how we're doing this.
Eva, he asked if he was chasing the neighbor cat. That seems to be the one thing that he has not really changed much on.
No, he'll be tired as fuck, and he's still like, I've got one good sprint. Yeah. We're going after the cat.
Yeah. Now, one thing I noticed the other day when I took him out, he kind of psyched the cat out.
Sushi's not on her game then. No, she needs to step it up.
She's not. So, we go out, I take him out, and Sushi was in the backyard. And she was hesitant at first, and she was just kind of watching us, you know, kind of looking to see what he would do. And it was funny as hell because he was posturing. He kind of puffed himself up and
all 9.5 pounds.
All 9.5 pounds of him, you know, puffed himself up and stuck the chest out. And then he leaped up in the air and lunged like he was going to start chasing her. And she was like, "Oh, this is it." And she took off like a bat out of hell. And he was like, "Yep, okay."
Yeah.
She's gone.
It's like I achieved the same objective
without expending, a lot of energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, I mean, that was the first time I watched him dash across the yard at this sweet, sweet neighbor cat. I was like, "Who the fuck are you?" Because the Saki I know is usually just napping. Like, what is happening here?
Right.
So, yeah, that's our dog news.
Mm-hmm. Sushi's pretty cool. The other day I was out in the shop.
She's a shop cat now.
Yeah, she's my shop cat. I was out there working, getting the shop organized and, you know, arranging the tools and everything. And she came and right outside the door, she lay down and she just hung out with me while I was out there working. So.
And I think we were getting close to thinking about getting our own cat, and then Saki got sick, and we're like, okay, let's get Saki better,
yeah. And
then we're not gonna worry about that right now.
No.
But now I'm like, but I want a cat who will probably ignore the fuck out of me, but it's okay. I'm ready for a cat. I'm not ready for litter boxes though.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really not ready for that. Just saying. Anyway, we could ramble forever, as we clearly are doing. If you enjoy these rambles, Friday night on YouTube live stream
it's a 3 to 4 hour.
It's a 3 to 4 hour ramble. And it's a lot like this, except we talk about other things. But yeah, so yeah, that's us. That's what's going on with us. Yeah. That's all I got. I'm word lady can't word today. I'm struggling, and I
need more coffee.
Well, that is always true.
There you go. See?
That's always true. So, yeah, I guess we'll go.
Teishu, that is correct. Yep, dogs have masters, cats have staff.
I know, and I want to be staff for a cat who will pretend to love me only sometimes. I want this mythical cuddly cat that I keep seeing on the internet, because I've never had a cuddly cat. But I wanted a cuddly dog, and that
did not happen.
Did not happen. But Saki does know who his mom is.
Yes, he does.
He also knows
a doubt
that I am a total sap.
You say he's my dog.
Yes, when he annoys me, he's totally your dog.
But you are the one that he always looks at first.
Mm-hmm. He knows what's up. He knows what's up.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all, we are going to go.
Anyway.
We will talk to you soon.
Yeah. Later,
another time, something like that.
At the very least, Friday night.
Yeah, if you can make it. And I saw Queen Freya said it's 2:30 in the morning where they are, and that's, sorry.
I know.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, we're going to go. We could keep talking.
Yes, we can.
We got to stop at some point.
Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
Thanks for listening. Mm-hmm. Happy to have you here with us.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.